Hello, hello everyone. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. This is Mentor Anna once again and we are back. So it's March 25, almost 7 minutes before 12 midnight. Medyo na-late ulit ako ng aking live but I just wanted to be here with you and talk about a very important topic, especially on mindset. If this is your first time to see me go live, ako po si Ana Montesa. I'm a former accounting and finance professional, dating hospital CFO na nagtrabaho sa corporate world for 15 years, turned digital business mentor and owner for 5 years. So for tonight, I just wanted to talk about, something that is all about mindset, right? So this topic is very relatable, especially for accountants like me. I've been, talking to a lot of accountants and professionals, and they have been mentioning, when I invited them to watch the info webinar, most of them would say that, accountant tayo and we are busy, right? And maybe you're also a professional or accountant and also experiencing the same, that this is the busiest season for you, right? At madaming trabaho, and you saw this business for a reason. You wanted to earn extra income para makaalis ka rin. Maybe later on, no, makaalis ka rin ng work mo, but still you really haven't find time, right, to understand the business. So let's be honest for a moment, no? How many times have that we have said na wala akong time, I'm too busy, or I can't fit the webinar pa lang, or watch the short video in my schedule, right? And ito yung pinaka bold truth, right? You don't really lack the time. You have time for what you prioritize, right? So syempre ang dami sa atin nagsasabi na wala akong oras. But the question is, ano ba talaga yung pinaprioritize mo using your time, right? Of course, tayong lahat, we all have the same 24 hours a day. But if you try to look closely, we always find time for what really is important to us, right? Do you agree with that? Right? Let's say we find time for scrolling on social media, mindless scrolling. We do it, right? We watch a lot of, let's say, mga videos, not just on Facebook, but also on YouTube. Maybe nanonood ka rin ng Netflix, for example. We also find time for resting, right? If you feel tired. Or you also find time to meet others' expectations. So the issue here is really not the time. But the real question is, where is your time actually going? Right? So kung i-audit ba natin yung oras na you spend during your 24 hours in a day, ano ba yung talagang ginagawa mo? Right? And if you would focus on, kung talagang you're going to be honest with what you're doing, right? How you spend your time, and you wanted to be honest, ano yung parati mong pinagtutuunan ng oras? Right? And I just wanted to share this. Of course, my previous profession, dati rin akong accountant like you. I was also a CFO. And when I was still, working in the corporate world, I was still in my role as a CFO. Yung schedule ko was always full. And I can really relate to those accountants who would feel like wala talagang pahinga, or itong time of the year, like this is March 25, as we are fast approaching, by submission ng ating mga tax returns, mga business reviews, mga SEC filing, no? And the ITR and so on and so forth. Minsan hindi talaga tayo magkanda-ugaga with how do we really spend our time. And I've been there, I've also experienced that. Yung long hours, yung maraming meetings, well, apart from the regular task, may meetings ka pa na biglaan, ang daming responsibilities, right? And that time, I could have easily said na, I don't have the time to explore about the business. I don't have the time to explore something new. And honestly, at first, pinaniwalaan ko din yun, na wala akong oras. But when I started, becoming curious about building another source of income that is not related to any job or any side job in particular, right? Because kapag nag-start ka ng bagong trabaho, you are still trading time for money, right? So kumbaga, you are spending X number of hours, but you still get the fixed amount of salary every single month or every single payday, right? And ito yung din na-realize ko, that it wasn't, if it wasn't that I didn't have the time, that time. It was that I wasn't really allocating time for it. So I really decided to start the business. So nagsimula din ako ng maliliit na pockets of time. No, instead of spending all of my free time scrolling on social media, watching movies on Netflix, or just resting without intention, I decided to use that small pockets of time, sometimes kapag may break ako, to really learn to find time to watch the No Cost Info webinar first. That's where it also started. To also watch and understand the business model first, right? So I started that time na kahit busy ako as a CFO, I find time to watch the short trainings. I find time to understand how the system works. And I find time to have few conversations, especially with the person who also introduced me into this business. So nang nag-start ako ng business na to, it wasn't really that perfect. There were times na nakaka-drain. Minsan puno yung oras, yung araw mo ng meetings, tapos may deadline ka pa, may inuuwi pa akong trabaho noon. And I also thought na matatapos din ba talaga tong trabaho ko, right? And well, let's really acknowledge na kahit naman iuwi mo yung trabaho mo, may magawa ka ngayon, bukas meron na naman yan, right? So for me, it wasn't really being perfect. It wasn't really about the long hours that I really spent on working on my business, but it was really being intentional with my time, right? So what I did is I followed and really, immersed myself in the training. And then over time, those small time investment that I give, learning the business, finding time, understanding it, and building my own business while I was still working full time, started to create the real results that I was looking for. Right? So that's just really based on my own experience. So I just wanted to share with you some key learnings so that I've also gained when I also started the business. When I was still busy like you, na isang accountant na puno ng deadlines, na madaming meeting, na nagpupuyat, na mataas ang pressure, and so on and so forth. Right? Now, the number one is, again, your time reveals your true priorities. Right? So, what you say matters is one thing. Pero what you spend time on really shows the truth. And I've seen a lot of people minsan, okay, I will watch the webinar, but then when I ask them how was it or napanood ba nila, is they would say I would find time and I will get back to you kapag natapos ko na or kapag after ng deadlines, right? Hindi namang masama na unahin natin yung work, but that's really important though. But of course, if you really wanted to start something, if you wanted to change something, then you have to find time kung ano ba talaga yung importante sa'yo, right? And of course, some of the actions that you can take on this one is try to track your time in one day. Just one day, right? So like alam natin yan, we try to always audit, right? Yung ating work, it's common for us to really do the auditing. So like in your case, in your day, right? If you have your maybe phone and bring it with you, ano ba yung common na ginagawa mo during this time of the day, right? And then ask yourself, does my time really reflect the life that I wanted to build, right? And if you see yourself, are you scrolling a lot, wasting your time, free time on scrolling on social media, watching negativity, watching news, and so on and so forth, or are you the type of person who decides to, find time and learn something new that can also build your financial future, right? Now, the second that I wanted to share with you is you don't need more time. You just need better allocation of your time. So again, when you decide to grow, for example, you wanted to start a business, growth doesn't really require a lot of hours. It really requires intention, right? So like in my case sa akin, no, before I started the business, importante sa akin before was to have a long to-do list. Right? Sanay tayo dyan sa ating trabaho para wala tayong makalimutan. No? But when I started the business, for me, what really is important is ano ba yung intention ko for the day? Right? So what is it that I really need for today? So if I need rest, I will do that. If I need to have focused working hours on my business, I do time blocking and I do that. If I need to work out, I find time in the morning and I do that because it really helps me to think faster and, to stretch my mental capacity, right? So some of the key action that you can also do to adapt this is you start with just 15 to 30 minutes a day. Hindi ito random time, no? This is what we call protected time. So even if you start, like for example, you are already just starting to learn more about the business, you start by watching the No-Cost Info webinar first, right? So kahit sabihin mo, okay, busy ako. So you can start maybe watching the first 15 minutes. Maybe tomorrow, the next 15 minutes, right? Then the next is the next 15 until makover mo yung buong webinar if you really wanted to understand the business, right? So even yung mga small, consistent time, yung mga maliliit na yon, that really creates momentum. And if I would go back dun sa time that I was still working, a huge part of that was really having the discipline to, stick to it, to really, kumbaga, believe, no, na yung ginagawa ko, what I'm doing on my business would later on allow me to retire as well. Right? So for me, yung mga sacrifices that I did, during the first few months and years of working and understanding the business really translated into results later on. So wag nating kakalimutan yung maliliit na oras, no? And a lot of people are always saying I don't have time, but there's so many people inside our business community that they are working full time. Some of them are juggling multiple jobs, 2 to 3, but still they find time to run their business, right? So I think this is really a matter of allocation of time, right? And the third one is small time shifts create big life changes. Of course, yung future is really built in the small daily choices that you make, right? We are created in the image and likeness of God. But in order for us to change our life, right, God gave us the power to decide, the power of making choices, right? So you can start with 15 minutes today. You can start 30 minutes tomorrow. Hanggang sa makumpleto mo, for example, yung info webinar, right? And when you do that every single day, right, that actually compounds. And when that compounds, you start creating momentum, right? So think about this. So if someone says that they don't have time to improve their situation, I've heard a lot of times this one, ang dami sa atin na gustong mabago yung buhay, right? But they don't really find the time to learn, to find something new, right? They just became curious, but they don't take action, right? And what happens is they just spend their time daily on doing the things that don't really move them forward. Ang daming ganito sa atin. And that's actually the reason why there's so many people these days that, they still stay stuck with where they are, right? But if you are that person who wants to change your life, you want really that burning desire to, transform the life of your family, right? Then you have to do, things that are different, right? So for me, it's really not a time problem. I think that's really a priority problem. Why? Again, because we have the same 24 hours a day. And it's really up to you, right? And once you shift that, you decide to shift, you try to identify your priorities, and that's when, everything really changes. So let me ask you, before we end this short episode, is if something truly matters to you, is it your health? Is it your finances? Is it your relationships? Is it your faith? Is it, what else? Ano pa ba yun? Ano pa ba yung mga iba't ibang importante na bagay sa buhay mo? My question to you is, are you giving it enough time? Or are you waiting for free time that never really comes? Because a lot of us would always say, I would do this if I have the free time. I would do this if I have extra time, right? So that is exactly how I really started my business, no? And I wanted to really talk about this because I've also been through that same path, right? I started my business not with extra hours, no. Kahit puyat, no, I still show up for my business. Even until now, kahit full-time na ako, because I really wanted to, grow my business. I wanted to help more people, help more accountants and professionals in the business. Of course, I didn't start also by quitting everything. So I find time and see to it na kung meron akong free time, pinabilis ko yung work ko, how I become efficient in my output sa trabaho before. I did that until I have that extra time to work and understand the training when I was still starting, habang nagtatrabaho pa ako noon. But for me, what really helped sa akin is when I became more intentional by using that small pockets of time to really earn a new way of earning. And you know what? I mentioned this earlier dun sa isa kong kausap na she thought that this was a job opportunity. I told her that if you keep on searching for another job, and it means that you're still trading time for money, then you will be working for the rest of your life. But you know what? In my own experience, when I finally decided, I took my business seriously and then I earned, you know, an amount equal to 1 week of my corporate salary by just working 1 to 2 hours a day. That actually changed how I see earning and living when I saw that inside our business community. And at the same time, the experience ko rin, when I took my business seriously. And over time, that really created another income stream. And sooner or later, that really helped me, later on, decided to retire from my own corporate job. And this is, if you're also saying that you're busy, I also started the business while I was still working full time, if you know my story. I built this business alongside my full-time career as a CFO. Right? So napakadaming pressure and demands of corporate work, but I still did it. But I still, find time to work on the business because I know that the business will become my key to retiring early. And that was the one thing that really happened, and I'm really grateful for that. So if you are open to exploring a different way to earn, aside from, starting a job, this is a business. Yes, this is a business that's something that you can build gradually using your available time. Just comment the word start or just send me a message and I'll walk you through the step by step so you can see if this is a perfect fit for your life. So that's it for this midnight. Happy Mindset Tuesday, everybody. Again, you don't need more time. You just need to use it differently. So thank you for watching this live, and thank you for those who will catch us on the replay. Maraming salamat, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.